Is it possible for you to start an online coaching business where you love your clients, you feel like you're making a difference in the world, plus you're making six figures per year doing it? What if you have no following or credentials, or you aren't even sure what you want to help people with? The answer is yes, and this podcast will show you how. My name is Brian Elwood, and welcome to the Aligned Coach Podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Aligned Coach Podcast. My name is Brian Elwood, and I have a very special guest today that I'm super excited to interview named Kristine Kolzing. And she's a transformational mindset expert and a master success coach. She guides women entrepreneurs to go from determined but stressed to joyful and confident CEOs. She is a CEO of the Alignment Tribe, certified master success coach. She's certified in NLP and Reiki and Enneagram. And Kristine, I'm just excited to pick your brain today about all these things, about alignment. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your story and how you ended up in this niche in the first place.
So I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my first business at the age of 24. I had a little coffee house and juice bar down in Florida. Cool. And I've had a Pilates studio, an online health and wellness business. And what I found in all of the entrepreneurial endeavors I was involved in is that mindset was essential to being able to start and build and grow a business. And in my health and wellness business, it was online. I had a lot of women that were working with me, and I was coaching them not just on how to create a business and how to do sales, but on the personal development and mindset that they needed to overcome objections and handle the ups and downs and, all those things that you have to be able to do as a successful entrepreneur. And I found that over the years, that was my favorite part of doing what I did. I could teach the sales and things like that, but I would get really excited when I got to teach mindset or personal development. So I think it was around 2019, I decided to get some certifications so that I could be more effective in that aspect of my coaching. So that's when I got my NLP certifications and all that good stuff. And then I started coaching people one-to-one just because I loved it, because I enjoyed it. And then I launched the Alignment Tribe at the end of 2019. I launched my program at the very beginning of 2020. So right from the start, I got to put into practice all the things I was teaching, because building a brand new business in 2020 was a really interesting experience. And it was definitely a time when I needed to have my mindset dialed in so that I could grow my business during a time of uncertainty and be able to guide the women I was working with as they were growing their businesses during this time of uncertainty. So I feel like over the last year, we really supercharged what we were doing and offering to our clients, because the need was even greater than it's ever been for women to be able to build a business that suits their life, right? A lot of women that I work with are entrepreneurs. They're also moms. They're also homeschooling their kids. They're trying to figure out this whole pandemic and lockdowns and all of these other things. And they have a purpose. They have this greater drive to support other people and to coach them and to build these businesses. And so it's been just a great experience to be able to support these women as they're creating businesses that fit with their lives rather than creating a life that fits around their business, which I think is the old paradigm that just doesn't work anymore.
Totally. And I know a lot of people help people with things that they personally overcame in their own story. So I'm wondering if there was a time where you were out of alignment.
I'd say most of my entrepreneurial endeavors, I was out of alignment, not because I didn't believe in what I was doing or I didn't love what I was doing. I would prioritize work over a lot of other things in my life. I like to work. I'm an Enneagram 3. If any of your people know what that is, it's the doer. Like, I really love my creativity comes through my business. I really like working. I like accomplishing things. But when it's coming from a place of fear or missing out or scarcity or overwhelm, it doesn't feel good to be doing that work. And what I found in particular when I was building my health and wellness business is that I was building it from a place of scarcity, a place of, missing out, of putting aside my own relationships, time with my family. Like, I'd work all through vacation, and I just felt so out of alignment with creating the life that I thought I wanted to create through building this business, right? I thought building this business was going to give me all of this time freedom and all of this space and that's not what I was doing. I just kept working and working and working. And eventually I burned out. It just was too much. And the burnout didn't happen right away. And I tell people this all the time. The burnout starts with apathy, where you get to a point with your business where you're like, I don't care. Because doing one more thing just feels like so much effort. You've completely lost the joy in what you're doing. And it just feels like an endless series of tasks. That's not being in alignment with your business. And so I had to take a big step back from that business because it was no longer feeling like I could do that business from a place of ease, of joy, of, being at peace with it. And so I took a big step back from it. And that's when I was really started, diving more into this work. So then creating this business, I was very mindful that I didn't want to create my next business from that same place. So it's been a journey for me too, in building this business, to consistently create the right boundaries, to work with my own body's natural energy cycles. So I'm pushing when it's appropriate to push and pulling back when it's appropriate to pull back, that I'm scheduling time for the people who matter the most to me, that I'm not taking my laptop with me on vacation, which I did recently. And that was like, it was a joyful experience. And being able to rest, reflect, take time off without any fear or guilt. Because I think that's something that I see a lot with entrepreneurs is it's hard to shut it off. It's hard to not think about your business, even when you're not working your business. And being able to get to a place where you can say, I've done enough. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I trust that I'm doing the right things. I'm doing enough of those things. And being able to take time off, to be with my family, to take care of my health, to rest is equally important, and to feel good about taking that time.
Love that. So you said that you're an Enneagram 3, which is a doer. You said means you love to work. And you mentioned like, I was just going, not taking time for all these things. I resonate with that too. And I'm wondering, for my own, selfish purposes, like when you were working, and was that because you were an Enneagram 3 who likes to work, or because you were operating from a place of scarcity and felt like you had to keep working and nothing was ever enough?
I think it's a little bit of both. So my natural drive is to accomplish things. My natural instinct is to do, right? To write the list, to do the things. And that's so wonderful when it's channeled in the right way. And a lot of entrepreneurs are 3s. A lot of CEOs are 3s. Like, we just have this natural drive to do. The challenge was, I think, partly the industry that I was in. It was the message I was receiving from people in the industry was you never have time to rest. If you're watching Netflix, you're being lazy because you could be working instead. You bring your phone with you everywhere you go. Everyone's a prospect. There's never time that you shouldn't be working your business or thinking about your business. If you go on vacation, you take your laptop with you. Like, it just was a very clear message. And for my personality, in the beginning, I was like eating it up. I was like, oh yeah, this is the way I operate. This works for me. But after 8 years of doing that, I was like, this does not, this does not work for me. And I saw it not working for everyone. I saw women of all different types, just saying like that doesn't work for me. I don't want to miss my kids' baseball practice. I don't want to take my laptop on vacation. I don't want to feel like I can't sit down and watch a movie with my family and feel guilty about that because I should be working. So I think it was a little bit of a combination of like my natural drive to work a lot, but also the message I was receiving that really reinforced that in an unhealthy way.
I see. And I resonate with the scarcity thing because I've been in that mode, at varying times in my career as an entrepreneur. And so the audience, the people that are listening to this are coaches. And as a coach, what it's like to start a business. And then sometimes you don't know if the revenue is going to come in this month. And then other times you have a great month. And how do you avoid the scarcity mindset, I guess, even if the money is not there today?
Yeah, such a great question, because it starts with your state of being. And most of us are operating from the circumstances we're in. We look at the circumstances and then we make meaning from it. Oh, there's not enough money coming in. That must mean I'm not doing this well. I'm going to be a failure. It must mean that tomorrow there also won't be money. What if there's not money next week and the next? And they take their current circumstances, they make it mean something about them personally or about their business or where it's going. And now you're in a place that's very disempowering. There's not really anywhere to go from there. So you've got to detach from your current circumstances and really start with your state of being. It all starts with your being, right? It's not what you have. It's not what you're doing. It's who you're being. So are you waking up every morning being a person who is content, who's accepting, who's grateful, who's appreciative, who's joyful, who's happy, who's curious, who's interested, right? Start with that state of being. And now you're in a place where you're going to be looking at your business very differently, right? If you came to your computer and there's zero money in the bank, but you came to your computer with a state of being of trust, faith, confidence, certainty, like you've got to be certain that what you're offering and what you're doing is going to help people and does help people and is like the best that you can make it. You come to your computer with that kind of mindset or feeling grateful for all that you do have. The fact that you have a computer and it's connected to the internet and you have the ability to go reach literally millions of people today. Like that's remarkable, right? You come to your computer with that frame of mind and that state of being, that zero in your bank account is going to feel totally different than if you came to the computer and you just looked at the zero and you're like, that must mean I'm a failure. That must mean my business isn't going to make it. It starts with who you're being. Everything starts with who you're being. And you have to be consistent with that. What I see some people do is choose their state of being, right? So they're choosing who they're going to be. My clients do I have them write this whole morning formula, this alignment of who they're being and what their life is like. And you can do that in the morning, but if you don't consistently keep tuning into that, then you're going to fall back into old patterns. Your mind always takes the path of least resistance, right? So if your old way of thinking and feeling is related to scarcity, there's not enough, I've got to work harder, then you're going to default to those patterns. So you've got to stay on top of it. You've got to continually tune in to who you want to be, how you want to feel, what you want to think. And then eventually over time, that becomes your default, right? That's where the path of least resistance goes. But oftentimes what people do is they choose for a little while, right? And then they don't see the evidence right away. And they go, yeah, see, there's still no money in the bank account. And they go back to their old defaults. It's a consistent, kind of relentless, uncompromising dedication to being, thinking, and feeling your way into manifesting the things that you want in your life.
That's awesome. That reminds me of, who Darren Hardy is, the founder of Success Magazine.
Yes, I've heard the name. I haven't read any of his stuff though.
Okay. He has a book called The Compound Effect that's really good.
Yeah.
But he said like he was seeking the ideal partner in his life. And he had always tried to like go out and find the ideal person for him. And he decided to take a different approach where he's like, well, I'm just going to imagine who my ideal partner would be. And then I'm going to become the person that she would want. And when he focused on who he was being, he attracted that ideal partner into his life. Is what you're saying kind of the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't control anything outside of you, right? Like he couldn't make someone want to be with him. He could just become the best version of himself. That's all we have, the only thing we can control is what we feel, what we think, and what we do. And when we really tune into that concept on a deep level, then we're able to, we see more opportunities. We see more options. That perfect person was probably pretty close to him, right? It probably wasn't someone who was living on the other side of the world. And like, it was probably someone who could easily meet him, but he had to become that match, right? He had to become the best version of himself. And then there she was, right? And your business is kind of the same. Your health is the same. Like everything starts with your state of being, right? If you want to be healthy, you've got to start with a state of being of healthy, right? And tuning into all the ways that your body is already healthy, right? Even if you have a disease, even if you have a physical ailment, even if you have some sort of circumstance, that's not 100% of you, right? So tuning into the state of being, the health that you want to have first, right? Who you want to be, how you want to feel. Then you start to see that there's options, there's opportunities. Everything you need is already here for you.
I'm thinking back to my entrepreneurial career, and because I've been an entrepreneur for over a decade, and I'm thinking back, like a lot of the times I wasn't confident until I got some money. And then when the money came in, I allowed that to give me that boost of confidence, but then it would go away and I'd lack confidence for a while and have another success, both in real estate and in coaching. So you're making me see like that I was looking for something outside of me to help me feel a certain way. I was dependent upon external things for confidence. You're saying to flip that and be that way from the get-go, and then that will bring you those things a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah. It's cause and effect, right? So the law of cause and effect states that for every cause there is an effect, right? And when we're looking for the effects to dictate or determine how we feel, we've really given our power away to outside circumstances, right? Because the money comes and you feel great, but if the money's there, you feel terrible. You're not being in control. You're not causing your own feelings. You're letting the outside circumstance create how you feel. And that just feels very, I don't know, you're constantly like back and forth, up and down. There's a lot of emotional instability there. But if you're just choosing how you feel every day, choosing your state of being every day, it won't matter if the money's there or not, right? You get to choose it. And when you're in that state of being, you're going to be taking the right actions. You're going to be attracting the right people. You're going to be creating the effects that you want to see in your life. So being at cause is something I talk a lot about with my clients. That's self-empowerment, is when you're choosing how you feel, what you think, and what you do, regardless of the outside circumstances. You've now brought all the power into your life. And the same goes for relationships, right? If you're waiting for someone to make you happy, There's so much fallibility in that. No one else can make you happy. Only you can. Right? And when you're being your best, you're going to be in a relationship that creates happiness, right? Because you're already in that state of being. So you can't, you don't want to wait for the clients to bring you confidence. You don't want to wait for the money to bring you a feeling of abundance or security. You don't want to wait for the person to bring you a feeling of loved, right? You start with those states of being first.
So when you work with a client, I want to ask you how to create those states, of course, because I know our audience would love to hear it. But when you work with a client, when they come to work with you, do you have suggestions on like an ideal state of being, or is that unique to each person? Like you ask them, what do you want to be? And then you put a plan in place for whatever their version of that looks like.
Yeah, it's definitely individual because we all have different kind of set points, right? We all have different ways that we operate in the world. And not all of us are going to be high energy and, super positive. And when I hear, mindset gurus telling people that's how they have to be all the time, for a lot of people that feels unnatural. It doesn't feel authentic to them. So it's got to be a state of being that feels good for you, that feels authentic to you. And what I do with my clients, I take them through this process that I call the realign process, where they're choosing the outcomes that they want to experience in their life. And we call them just because outcomes. And they're outcomes that are just because you'd love to experience it, because you'd love to have it, you'd love to be it. They're not outcomes that are proving anything to you or to anyone else. They're not outcomes that are solving problems. It's just the things that you would love to be and have and experience in your life. And when you step into those outcomes, you tune into how it feels when you're there. Like, what does it feel like when you have that thriving business? Right? What does it feel like when you have the energy and vitality that you want? What does it feel like when you have a great relationship? And you really step into that and you begin to change your neural pathways. You actually begin to create new mind-body connections, and you begin to choose the state of being that aligns with that outcome. So now when you know how you'll feel when you reach this outcome, you can choose to feel that way today. Now you've completely short-circuited the time-space thing, right? Because now you feel the same way today as you'll feel when you reach this outcome. And now it's so much easier to get there. The actions feel obvious. You can easily take the steps to make that happen. And you get to feel great now and while you're creating what you want. You're not waiting for the goal before you feel the way you want to feel. Does that make sense?
That sounds like a pretty awesome shortcut.
Yeah, it is. And then we do a little thing in between where we recognize all of the resistance that's keeping you from being there already. And we do a process with a subconscious mind where we release that resistance. So you can just take that action and be the person who's already experiencing your outcomes so that you can much more quickly and easily take the action to make them happen.
I've always wondered if what everyone's after in life is a feeling at the end of the day anyways. Like they want money because they think it'll give them inner peace. They want the relationship. They think it'll make them happy. They want money to go on a vacation because that will be relaxing. It's like if you get deeper and deeper on why people want things, it usually gets to a feeling, if not all the time. Have you seen that as well?
Oh, 100%. You're so right on with that. And I think our culture has really gotten it backwards. We've been told that once we have the thing, then we get to feel the way we want. Right. And I mean, honestly, our whole country's been founded on this, the manifest destiny. Like, it's always the future will be better. right? When we get to America, it'll be better. When we get to California, it'll be better. When we get to the moon, it'll be better. Like we're always told that the future is better because we think that once we've achieved the thing, like you said, once you have the money, then you'll feel secure. Once you have the relationship, you'll feel loved. Once you have the body, you'll feel accepted, right? We think that in the getting of something, we'll get to feel the way we want to feel. And it's actually the opposite. Because you're always going for the feeling, just feel that way now. Then it makes it a lot easier to get the thing, right? And then if you get the thing or you don't get the thing, it doesn't matter because you still felt good in the process. You still learned some things. You still had a great time. You still enjoyed your life. You still, gained knowledge. You still got to do a lot of other things, right? And life doesn't become just setting goals and reaching them, right? Because that can start to feel challenging, I think.
That's an interesting point. I think we're really encouraged to have goals, in our society. So we're basically encouraged to create a gap between where we are and where we want to be.
Yes.
Which causes you to sort of wake up feeling a bit like unaccomplished, I guess, in some way, I got to hit my goals for this year. And so your whole life is about like bridging this gap.
Right. And that gap can be so powerful if you know how to use it in the right way. Because what happens with most people is we set the goal and then we look at where we are and we go, I'm not there yet. Right. And we start fixating on where we are in this moment or what happened in the past. Right? Oh, well, the last time I tried this, it didn't work, or I don't believe I deserve this, or no one in my family's ever done this, right? And we get so focused on what's happening right now or on our past that we've now lost sight of what it is we want to accomplish or achieve or have, right? But if you can switch that, if you can use that tension in your favor, if you choose your outcomes, you step into it, you feel it, you're being it, you're staying in that state of being. Now you begin to use that tension to move you towards your outcomes rather than the tension pulling you back to where you are.
Interesting. And is it tension anymore if you're feeling the way you want to feel?
Right. That's it. No, because you've short-circuited that tension, that space between where you are and where you want to be. And you're just being where you want to be.
It's really powerful, Kristine, because if the feeling is the prize, the ultimate prize, you're saying we can choose to get that today. Mm-hmm. But not only that, choosing to feel that way today will make the goal a lot easier to hit anyways. So it's really a win-win.
Absolutely.
So I've got to ask you, how do we do that? I know, we don't have time for a master class, but could you give the audience the bullet points at least on how to start controlling who they're being, their state of being?
I think it starts with making a decision and making a decision that you are going to choose how you feel and what you think and what you do. And that sounds very simple, and it actually is very simple. It doesn't mean it's always easy because you're really reconditioning your body and your mind. You're creating new neural pathways. You're creating new mind-body connections. And so it's a process that takes repetition. It takes consistent choice making, like every morning waking up and saying, I'm choosing how I feel. I'm choosing who I'm being. I'm choosing what I'm thinking, right? And then throughout the day, continuing to remind yourself, continuing to choose that, because I've noticed that sometimes people will do that in the morning, and then by mid-afternoon, they're right back in their old ways of feeling. And because those old grooves are deep, right? The old ways of thinking and feeling, you've maybe felt or thought that way for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? It's going to take a little time. The easiest way to do it is to stay focused on what you want. Stay focused on how you want to feel. Stay focused on the state of being that you want to be in and the thoughts that you want to think. And you'll find we've seen this in brain scans, is that the more you're focused on what you're creating and who you're being, you're creating those new neural pathways, those new mind-body connections. The old ways of being, the old neural pathways actually begin to disintegrate and they stop firing. And you don't have to pay any attention to the old way of being. In fact, anything you focus on expands. So just keep focusing on what you want. Keep focusing on who you want to be and how you want to feel. And the more you do that, the more that just becomes you. And the less like conscious efforting you have to do, it just becomes the unconscious part of you.
So does that happen when you're doing that personally, you're focusing on who you want to be? I'm guessing that happens during a morning routine. Does it also happen throughout the day as well? Could you give us full insight on, if we were watching you do this, what would that look like?
So it starts with the morning routine. Absolutely. I think that's so essential to start your day. I do a little bit of breath work, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of reading, a little bit of journaling. And then I have a morning alignment that I've written about kind of painting the picture for my subconscious mind of who I want to be, the business I want to have, the health and the relationships, the whole, what my ideal life looks like. And then throughout the day, I'm going back to that. So I read that morning alignment 2 more times. I usually read it in the middle of the day and then again right before bed, because I really want to be implanting into my subconscious mind this image of who I'm being and the life I'm living. Several times throughout the day, I'll just pause and tune in. I actually have a bunch of alarms set on my phone to remind me to do this, because otherwise I'll get kind of caught up in the work, right?
Yeah.
And I have these alarms that go off and I'm like, oh, okay, where am I? What's my state of being? How am I feeling? Are my thoughts focused on what I want? And I really just take a moment to fill myself with gratitude and just all of the things that are here for me now in this life, all of the things that I'm grateful for, just to continue to keep that state of being where I want it to be. So those are and then at the end of the day, I do an evening routine. I do some energetic cord cutting. I reread my morning alignment. I do a little bit of habit tracking. So I have some habits like reading that morning alignment or, stopping to pause for gratitude throughout the day that keep me every day. I'm checking things off that list just to make sure that I'm staying consistent, because it takes conscious choice making to create a new way of being. And so I have these things all throughout my day that remind me that I'm the creator of my life. Through my conscious choice making, I get to create whatever life I want.
Wow.
But we're not taught that. I mean, none of us learn this in school. And unless you had super progressive parents, you probably weren't taught this as a kid. And so there's a lot to reprogram and to create for yourself.
Can you share some things once you started doing this routine? Because it sounds really powerful. What were some things what were some of the changes you noticed in your daily life experience? Maybe some things that came into your life, some things that fell away from your life. What were some of the things that you noticed?
Yeah. So I stopped caring about what I weighed. I stopped caring about what people thought about what I looked like. I just started to really appreciate and enjoy my body. And I'm in perfect health. I went on a blind date and wasn't expecting anything. And now I'm in the best relationship I've ever been in my life. I created a 6-figure business in my first year during 2020. Really, the sky's the limit. In all areas of my life, I feel I'm at my peak and it's only getting better. So for me, this process has been, it's not just about the money. It's not just about the business.
Right.
It's about, being able to have the health that I want. It's being able to be in a great relationship. It's deepening the relationships with the people who mean the most to me, spending time with my family. And my twin sister is now my business partner, and she's in my program with me, and she's adding a whole Enneagram component to our program, which I'm really excited about. So it's just so many wonderful things keep aligning for me the more and more I stay in tune with my state of being. So yeah.
It sounds like a lot more fun too.
It definitely is a lot more fun.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about something you mentioned earlier. You said working with your natural energy cycles. That just stood out to me because there's some times where I would rather just like sit on the couch and do nothing. And it's like a Wednesday at 11 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my psychology says this is like a weekday. You got to be working. You got to push your business along. Everyone else is working right now too. But my body's telling me sending me a different message, which is like go on a walk, relax, whatever.
Yeah.
Could you just talk about natural energy cycles, how you think about that? And I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I just did a training on this inside one of the groups where I'm the mindset coach. So we all work on energy cycles that are not the same every single day. None of us wake up every morning feeling the same level of energy. And we have times of the month when our masculine energy, the energy of doing, taking action, strategizing, and planning is more prominent. And when we know that we're in that phase, we can really take more action, be more visible, plan and initiate and do more things. And then we all have an equal amount of time in our month where we're in more of our feminine energy, where we need to rest, reflect, tune into our intuition, be more creative, daydream, think of new ideas. And we often discount those times because it's nothing personal. It's just our culture really values that masculine energy of doing and taking action and devalues the energy of resting and reflecting. And so when we have a day or a week or a few days where our bodies are saying, it's time to, take it easy. Why don't you rest a little? Go for a walk. I mean, think about the inspired ideas that might come as you're out going for a walk, right? I mean, that could be equally important to sitting at your computer and writing another email. But because as a culture, we haven't learned how to value that time, we tend to ignore it, push it away, override it. And what we end up is stressed, overwhelmed, burnt out, never resting, right? This is the energy of the constant doing that our culture really values. And when we can learn our own natural energy cycles, the times that we feel most energized, and for most of us, it's around the time of the waxing moon and the full moon, and then the times around the waning moon and the new moon. Am I saying that right? Energy is highest. Your masculine energy of action taking and go-getting is highest around the waxing moon and the full moon. And then the waning moon and the new moon is when you're more in your feminine energy of resting, reflecting, being more intuitive, getting inspired, creativity. And when you're in those phases for yourself, you can really start to harness the energized times and you can get so much done. And then you can enjoy the times that you're pulling back and not feel guilty about it. Like really trust that this rest is here for you. And then when you come back into getting into more action, you're rested, you're ready for that. You're not burning yourself out by staying in that high energy all the time.
And the two moon phases that you mentioned, which are the rest, feminine energy, those happen, I'm assuming, at the same times every year?
Every month.
Every month. Okay. Mm-hmm. So all that happens within 1 month.
Yes.
Interesting. So do you actually plan your schedule around this?
I absolutely do. I look at my schedule. Yeah. When I know it's the new moon, I don't schedule sales calls because I don't have the energy for it. And when it's the waxing moon, I plan big events. And when it's the full moon, I launch those big events, right? Because that's when I have the energy to be visible. So when you start to see this for yourself, you'll know when to batch your content, when to go live, when to take yourself off your calendar, when to schedule in an extra rest day. You can also use this to know when to do the high intensity workouts and when to just do some yoga, when to turn your alarm off and get a little extra sleep, and when to maybe work a little longer that day. It can be really powerful in helping you to align your energy with your work so that you can do more in the times that it's appropriate and rest more when it's the times that it's appropriate.
Well, it's kind of like you were saying earlier, how if you just focus on being the person or having the feeling, it makes it easier to get what you want. I know that when sometimes if I'm stressed out or I just whatever, can't figure out a problem, I'll just go for a walk. Like we live near this huge park and it's, probably 4 miles or so from my house and around the whole loop and back. There's never been a time where I've walked that loop when I have a problem on my mind that I haven't gotten the solution, but it's usually like a higher level solution that like solves the whole thing instead of me like being in it and just like thinking about the little pieces of the problem. I'm like, why don't I just either eliminate this or delegate it? Or it's just like the like business answers come to you from the rest. And It's funny that we don't like even the word like feminine energy, like as a guy, most guys are like, what? That's not me. What do you mean? Feminine? I'm masculine, high testosterone or whatever. But I remember reading about how like Bill Gates takes 30 days off every year or something. He just sits in a cabin, or maybe it was longer than 30 days, and he's one of the most successful people on the planet. Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably like Brendan Burchard, who a lot of the stuff you have said, it just made me think of him. He mentioned he takes like 150 days off every year or something like that, which sounds about right almost if you're saying, a couple times every month. I don't know. Are you saying that 50% of the time is feminine energy and 50% is masculine if you look at the calendar?
Yeah, roughly, though for each one of us, it's a little, it can be a little more individualized. But yeah, I think that those inspired ideas that you're getting away from the computer, you're out there on that walk. That's your intuition, right? Those are inspired ideas coming to you. That's feminine energy, right? And it's when people can embrace that, it's amazing how creative we can be, how like the solutions to our problems just come to us. A lot of people have these moments like in the shower, right? Because there's nothing distracting them. They're just standing there under the water and they go, oh, that's it. That's how we solve that, right? Or when they're taking a long drive, right? And your eyes are just looking out at the horizon, you get those inspired ideas. They're those inspirations, that intuition is always here for you. It's just if you're always stuck in your work, you're not giving yourself the space to receive it. So you go for the walk.
So interesting. Yeah.
That's why meditation, a daily meditation practice can be so helpful because it's just tuning you into the insights, the answers that are already here for you. You just got to cut out all the other noise so that you can tune into it.
That's so interesting because I've worked with a lot of clients and talked to a lot of prospects, most of who are men. And there's been a lot of instances where people like the guys just come across to me as really blocked, like creatively. And they're just like, I don't know what I want. I have no idea. And I'm sort of like, how could you have no idea what you want? But then I'm thinking that those people usually were deep into the masculine energy and not really, they wouldn't do something like go on a walk or do yoga or meditate or take a day off. And now you're helping me see how that, and I've been totally guilty of that too, but you're helping me see how that, that's probably what's blocking people from their intuition, which has those deeper answers. And that's why they couldn't find them.
Yeah. They keep thinking that they have to think their way through the answer. Right?
Yeah. And your brain is like, I've realized this recently, like all the real answers to what I wanted to do for my business came from my heart or my gut or my intuition or whatever. my brain is sort of like a computer that helps me like with, process, but my brain can't tell me what I want for my life any more than my computer could tell me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of the same thing. So this doesn't give you the answers, even though it almost just gets in the way a lot of the time.
Yeah, a lot of the time it does.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
Wow. This has been awesome, Kristine. I want to respect your time and wrap it up now. But you obviously have a lot to share, and this has been super valuable. Where can people go to connect with you and find out more about you and what you do?
So you can find me at thealignmenttribe.com. So that's our website. You can also come join our free Facebook community. I do live coaching every Monday, and you can find that on Facebook at The Alignment Tribe. And then you can find me on Facebook or on Instagram at Kristine Kolzing.
Sweet. I'll put all those in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.